welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would share another story time video with you. This one is slightly more embarrassing than the last one. As you can tell from the title, it's about how gullible I am. I am very, very gullible. We're talking in school, a friend told me, "Julie, did you know if you say giraffe really slowly, it sounds like gullible?" And I was like, giraffe. That gullible. For today, I have 3 different stories to tell you of incidences where I was far more gullible than I should have been. And I'm gonna go ahead and tell them to you in chronological order. The first story, like I said, it took place when I was about 5 or 6. My mom, myself, my sisters, and my dad were all living on our farm in Illinois. And my dad was a semi driver, so he had a semi and he'd be gone during the week, and then he would be home in the weekend, and over the weekend the semi would be parked in our yard. Because he'd be gone during the week, he would have to sleep in the semi, so the semi actually had a bed in it. And I remember when I was little thinking that was the coolest thing ever. One night I decided I wanted to spend the night in the semi truck on the semi bed. And so I told my parents, I'm like, I want to do this. It's gonna be like camping. It's gonna be so cool. I was all excited. I'm like thinking about it all day long. I'm thinking this is gonna be the best day ever. I'm gonna be so adventurous. My older sister, because I'm the middle of 3 girls, my older sister decided to be an older sister and proceeded to tell me, "Oh, Julie, you're gonna have so much fun, but make sure you watch out, because there's a lot of rabid animals out at night. Raccoons are the worst." And I remember thinking, no, whatever. There's not gonna be any rabid raccoons. I'm gonna be fine. But still kind of thinking about it. Nighttime came for me to go sleep in the truck. I got my pillow and I got my blanket and I'm all excited and I'm like walking out to the truck, all excited. And mind you, again, this is just sitting in our driveway. Not that special. I get to the truck, Dad opens the door for me, I like climb up into it because this truck was high, like even for an adult you have to like climb to get into it, it's a semi. I get in, I get all situated, I have the bed, it's so cool, and Dad says, "Alright, good night," and I say, "Good night," and he closes the door, I lay my pillow down, I got my blanket, looking around thinking this is the coolest thing ever. And I get all cozy, and I start to doze off. I'm pretty sure I actually fell asleep. This was a long time ago. I don't remember exactly. But I want to say I fell asleep, was sound asleep, having happy 5-year-old dreams, and I woke up to the sound of something at the door, and I froze because I listened, and the more I listened, I heard in our driveway, like gravel was rattling, and then I heard something move outside, like at the step to get up to the door, and I heard what sounded like scratching, and then I heard like growling noises, and I'm petrified. Like, I do not move, I do not breathe, I am frozen in that spot. I don't know how long, it probably lasted like 2 seconds, but I thought it lasted forever. And I remember it finally stopped, and I just stayed there completely petrified, thinking a rabid raccoon just tried to kill me. And so I wait for I don't know how long until after the sounds stop, and I think I need to get into this house ASAP. This truck is clearly not rabid proof. I finally get the courage to get up and leave and go back inside, and let me tell you, I hauled butt to that front door. I don't think I've ever ran faster than that moment in my entire life. And I get inside, I whip the door open, I fly inside and go to my own bed and go to sleep. The next morning, I get up, come downstairs, and my mom goes, "Oh, sweetie, I didn't realize that you ended up coming in last night. Dad went to go check on you and you weren't even in the truck anymore." And I went, "Oh yeah, I was just, I just wanted to sleep in my bed." And she's like, "Okay, but when Jessie went and checked on you earlier, she said you were fine." Jessie came to check on me, huh? to scare the crap out of me. Jessie told them she was going to check on me, and she instead went out to scare the living daylights out of an innocent 5-year-old. As you can tell, I'm over it. So that was the first Gullible story. Mind you, 5 years old, you think, okay, yeah, you were gullible, but you were 5. It's fine. Fast forward about 11 years, about 16, still on the farmhouse. We're going outside doing yard work and all of this, and outside of the house in part of the yard there was a sinkhole forming. For a while, we didn't really know what it was. We were just like, oh, the ground is just kind of like concaved a little bit right there. And come to find out after so long that it was a sinkhole, that there was like a little like cellar type thing right there that had been built over, and it wasn't done properly the first time. And so the sinkhole started getting worse. We ended up just getting a really big piece of wood to put over top of it so none of us girls when we were outside playing would like fall into it. So there was one day that my mom and us girls and all that decided to go outside. Mind you, it was April 1st. I helped Mom move this piece of wood, and we move it. There was actually a hole now. Before this point, the ground had never actually caved in. It was just sunken in. And now it had finally softened enough that it did cave in so you could see into this hole. Mom is standing on the edge looking over, and she goes with like a very genuine gasp. And I go, what? And she goes, there's a skeleton in there. And I go, white. Like my eyes get huge, my mouth falls open, and I'm just like, ugh. And she looks up at me and begins laughing hysterically. She goes, your face turned so white. As soon as she started laughing, I knew it was a joke, and I knew there was no skeleton in this sinkhole in our yard, but I still fell for it. And I was 16 years old, and I fell for it. And it was April 1st, and I still fell for it. We named the imaginary skeleton Jeff, so now anytime something amusing happens, my mom goes, hey, remember Jeff? And I go, yes, I do. We have a rabid raccoon, a skeleton named Jeff, and now, without a doubt, the best moment in history of me being gullible. Keep in mind, this happened about a year ago. Dan and I were driving back to the Midwest to visit family, and it's a 12-hour drive, and if you watched my last story time, you would know why we choose to drive instead of fly. If you haven't checked out that story time, check it out. It's worth it. We're driving to the Midwest, right? And when we drive, we usually take it in shifts so that one of us can sleep while the other one is driving. It was mid-morning by now, and Dan had already driven the first like 4-hour leg, because we usually leave at like 4 or 5 in the morning so that we can get to our destination at a decent time. So Dan had already driven the first 4 hours. I was driving now, and I was on probably hour 3.5 of my 4-hour section. So it's right before lunch, and I'm driving. I'm so tired. I am so hungry, and both of those put me in a very vulnerable position. We're driving, and we're in Ohio, and so I'm driving through Ohio, and Dan wakes up at this point, and he's up, we're talking and all of that, and we're driving, and we pass a Tim Hortons, and I go, that's a Tim Hortons, and Dan goes, yeah. And I go, I thought those were only in Canada. I didn't know there was any Tim Hortons in the States at all. And he goes, oh yeah, well, Ohio used to be a province in Canada. Me, in my overly sensitive, overly gullible, overly hungry, overly tired state, went, really? And he goes, yeah, they were one of the last states to actually be considered a state because they were part of Canada for so long. And I go, like, I'm racking my brain trying to remember where we covered this in US history, thinking, like, I had no idea. And so I'm sitting here just racking my brain all the while driving. I'm silent for a few seconds because I'm just trying to figure out why I didn't know this. And I'm like almost embarrassed because I feel like that's a pretty big piece of history that I should have known about. And I must have been quiet for long enough that Dan looks over at me and he goes, "Julie, I'm kidding." I'm looking straight ahead and he says that, and I don't even look over at him. I'm just driving and I go, "Oh." And my eyes just begin welling up with tears because of the sheer embarrassment. I'm just driving and tears just start streaming down my face. Dan immediately feels awful because he thought that I was just joking with him and we were just keeping this joke going back and forth. He had no idea that I genuinely believed what he was saying. I'm sitting there half sobbing, half laughing while I'm driving this car down the highway. Dan's like laughing and also trying to not laugh because he feels bad. And I'm just like, I still don't know why there's Tim Hortons in the States. So those are 3 of my incredibly gullible stories. The last one is without a doubt my favorite, and I tell it to people all the time, and they always seem to get a great big laugh out of it, and I can laugh at it now. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have any stories of when you were caught being gullible, and if I'm not alone, I might be completely alone. I'm pretty sure nobody else has ever thought that Ohio was part of Canada, so I might be alone on that one. But practical jokes by family members, I know I'm not alone. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already so you don't miss any more of these story times. If you want to check out some of the vlogs that I do, because I do weekly vlogs, you can click that playlist right there. And if you want to check out some of the other fun videos that I've made, you can click that playlist right there. Have a great week, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!